It was an ordinary morning on Earth. People went about their daily lives, unaware of the strange event about to unfold in the skies above them. The sun rose in the east, casting its golden light on the quiet streets. Children played in the parks, and workers made their way to offices, businesses, and factories. The world seemed normal, peaceful, and safe. But all that was about to change. In a small room at a government facility, a scientist named Dr. Emily Harris sat in front of a computer screen. She had been working on a routine signal tracking project, scanning the universe for unusual activity. At first, it seemed like just another day. That was until the signal came in. The first strange signal was faint. Just a blip on the radar. Dr. Harris dismissed it as nothing more than a technical glitch. But then, the signal grew stronger. It became clearer. She looked at the screen, her heart racing as the data came in. It was something entirely new. A pattern. A sequence of signals that didn't match anything known to Earth. She immediately called her colleagues. By noon, the news had spread. The signal had been detected by several observatories around the world. Scientists and governments worked together to figure out what it could mean. Was it just a natural phenomenon? Or something else? The signals were unlike anything Earth had ever encountered. They were too regular, too precise. And they were getting stronger. Around the world, people began to notice strange things in the sky. Bright lights flashed across the atmosphere, too bright to be planes or satellites. They moved in ways that no human-made object could. Some thought it was just a military test, others believed it was a natural event. But as the days passed, the signs became clearer: something was approaching Earth. The world's leaders were in a state of confusion and fear. Secret meetings were held in bunkers, military bases were put on high alert. People were told to stay calm, but panic began to spread. News outlets were flooded with reports about strange lights and noises in the sky. Social media buzzed with theories and rumors. Was this the end? Was Earth about to face its first alien contact? Then, on the 5th day after the first signal, something changed. The lights in the sky grew brighter, and the world's telescopes caught sight of something enormous. A massive object was heading toward Earth at incredible speed. The entire planet seemed to hold its breath. People gathered outside, staring up at the sky, hoping to understand what was happening. The object was too far away to make out clearly, but its shape was unmistakable. It was a ship, bigger than anything humanity had ever seen. It moved with a grace that no human-made spacecraft could match. It was like a shadow crossing the stars, growing larger with every passing hour. The skies were no longer empty. And Earth was no longer alone. The world watched in awe and terror as the ship drew closer. Communications between governments became frantic. Satellites were repositioned to track the ship's movements. The mystery deepened as the ship remained silent. No one knew who, or what, was aboard. In every corner of the globe, people were glued to their screens, waiting for the next update. Some believed the ship was a warning, others thought it was a sign of hope. But the one thing everyone could agree on was that nothing would ever be the same again. The galaxy had been watching Earth for a long time, but now Earth was the one being watched. And what would happen next could change the fate of humanity forever. The days following the appearance of the mysterious ship felt like they stretched into eternity. The world had stopped, as if it were holding its breath, waiting for something to happen. People stayed glued to their screens, and the atmosphere was thick with fear and curiosity. The strange ship was still visible, growing larger with every passing hour. It had now become impossible to ignore. Its presence in the sky was undeniable. Earth was no longer alone in the universe. The governments of the world had taken action. Military forces were put on high alert. Satellites were deployed to get closer images of the ship, but it remained elusive. There was no way to communicate with it, no signs of any message. It moved slowly, deliberately, as if it were studying Earth. No one knew if it was coming to land or simply passing by. The uncertainty was maddening. Then, on the seventh day, the ship did something unexpected. It stopped. The immense object that had been gliding through space at incredible speeds came to a halt in Earth's orbit. It hovered there, silent and still, its enormous shape blocking out parts of the stars behind it. It felt as though the entire universe was watching, waiting for what would happen next. The silence that followed was almost unbearable. People around the world stared at the sky in awe and terror. News anchors spoke in hushed tones as they tried to explain the inexplicable. Experts debated the ship's intentions, but no one had an answer. The world was frozen, unsure of what to do next. Suddenly, a flash of light erupted from the ship. It was bright, blindingly so, and for a moment, it seemed as though the ship had released some sort of powerful beam into space. The world held its breath as the light disappeared as quickly as it had appeared. The atmosphere became charged with an electric tension. What was that? Was it a warning? A sign? Then, to everyone's shock, the ship began to move again. This time, it descended toward Earth. Slowly at first, but with undeniable purpose. The world held its breath as it approached the planet. As it came closer, people on the ground could make out more details. The ship was unlike anything humanity had ever seen. It wasn't just large, it was a work of art, with smooth, gleaming surfaces and intricate designs that seemed almost organic. It was both beautiful and terrifying, an object that seemed to defy all logic and understanding. The ship finally landed in the middle of the ocean, creating massive waves that rocked nearby ships. Its landing was graceful, almost gentle, but the force of its arrival was undeniable. A massive shockwave rippled through the water, sending tremors across the planet. The ocean seemed to be reacting to the presence of this alien vessel, as if the Earth itself was waking up to the reality that this was not just a dream. From the moment the ship landed, the world's attention was laser-focused on it. But nothing happened. For hours, the ship sat there, silent and still, while Earth's people waited with bated breath. What would happen next? Was this an invasion? Were they here to communicate? Or were they something else entirely? As night fell, something changed. The surface of the ship began to shimmer with light, as if it was responding to something in the air. And then, from deep within the ship, a sound, a low hum, began to emanate. It was a sound that resonated deep in the chest, a sound that could be felt rather than heard. The hum grew louder, and the sky seemed to pulse in response. Suddenly, the ship's surface shifted. A large section of it opened, revealing a dark, mysterious interior. No one knew what lay inside, but the sense of dread and anticipation grew. The whole world watched, knowing that something incredible was about to unfold. In the days that followed, Earth's leaders were summoned to a secret meeting. There was no official word from the aliens, but the rumors spread quickly. There was talk of strange symbols seen on the ship's surface, strange markings that no one could understand. And even more unsettling, the whispers began, this wasn't the first time Earth had been visited. The universe had watched Earth for so long, but now, the humans were about to discover that the galaxy had been keeping secrets. The aliens had arrived. But the real question was, what did they want? And what did Earth's people need to know before it was too late? The days after the alien ship had landed were some of the most tense Earth had ever known. The ship, now resting on the ocean's surface, had remained silent, yet its presence was as powerful as ever. The world was watching. Governments, military forces, and scientists were all on edge, unsure of what to do next. The questions were endless. What did the aliens want? Why had they come? And most importantly, what were they going to do next? For now, the ship remained still. Its vast, sleek surface gleamed under the sunlight, almost as though it were waiting for something. But the wait seemed to be unbearable. The suspense was building to a boiling point. Then, on the 11th day, something happened. The world's leaders received an unexpected message. It was a transmission, broadcast directly from the ship. The message was clear, though its meaning was not. Strange symbols filled the screen, their shapes unfamiliar, yet they were unmistakable. These were not random markings. These were intentional. A code. A message. Dr. Emily Harris, the scientist who had first detected the signals, was brought in to help decode the message. It took days of work, analyzing the patterns and symbols, but eventually, she discovered the truth. The message wasn't just a greeting. It was a warning. The alien ship wasn't just here to visit. It had come to deliver a message to humanity. A message that no one on Earth had been prepared to hear. The aliens spoke of a dangerous truth, a truth that had been hidden from the people of Earth for centuries. It turned out that the galaxy had been watching Earth for a very long time. And it wasn't just because humans were unique. No, the aliens knew something far more terrifying. They knew that Earth was sitting on the edge of a cosmic disaster. A catastrophe that, if not stopped, would wipe out humanity in an instant. As Dr. Harris decoded more of the message, she realized just how deep the secrets went. Earth wasn't alone in the galaxy, but it wasn't because the aliens wanted to explore. They had come to warn humanity. They had come because Earth had been unknowingly involved in something far larger than anyone could imagine. Something dangerous. The aliens spoke of a force, an ancient, malevolent power that had been traveling through the galaxy, consuming entire civilizations. This force was coming for Earth. And no one on the planet had the slightest idea of how to stop it. The revelation was nothing short of terrifying. The galaxy had known about this force for centuries. Every civilization in the universe that had encountered it had been destroyed. There was no escaping it. No fighting it. The only way to survive was to prepare, to understand the danger before it was too late. And Earth's time was running out. The aliens didn't just bring this warning, they brought a solution. But the solution came with its own risks. To defeat this force, humanity would need to join forces with other alien species, beings that had been watching Earth from the shadows for a long time. The aliens knew Earth's people weren't ready for this truth, but they had no choice. The galaxy had been silent, waiting, and now the time had come to act. But even as this message was received, it wasn't easy for humanity to accept. The knowledge that Earth had been unknowingly sitting at the edge of destruction was almost too much to bear. How could they have not known? How could they have lived their lives, thinking everything was fine, when the galaxy had been watching them all along? As the message ended, the world was left in stunned silence. The alien ship remained still in the ocean, but it had made its point. The galaxy wasn't a place of peace, as humanity had once believed. It was a place of danger, of threats too powerful for even the most advanced civilizations to face alone. Now, humanity had to make a choice. They could ignore the warning, continue with their lives, and hope for the best. Or they could face the terrifying truth, accept the help of these aliens, and prepare for the battle that was coming. The fate of Earth, and the entire galaxy, hung in the balance. The message had been received, and the world had no choice but to listen. Earth was in danger. The galaxy had been watching, waiting for the moment when humanity would finally learn the truth. But now that the truth was known, the question remained, what would Earth do with it? Could humans truly face the danger that was coming? And more importantly, could they trust the aliens who had come to warn them? For days, Earth's leaders met in secret, discussing their options. Some wanted to dismiss the alien message as a hoax. They believed it was a trick designed to manipulate the human race. Others, more open to the idea, insisted that the galaxy's warning should not be ignored. The debate raged across the world, with no clear answer. Meanwhile, the alien ship remained in the ocean, silent but ever-present. It was a constant reminder that the galaxy was watching, and that Earth's choices mattered more than ever. The tension on Earth grew, but the galaxy was not waiting idly by. As the message from the alien ship spread across the stars, other species began to take notice. The universe had been following Earth's progress for centuries, but now it was reacting to the warning. Powerful alien factions, long hidden from humanity's view, began to make their presence known. The first to arrive were the Zolarans, a race of intelligent beings known for their advanced technology and wisdom. They had been observing Earth for a long time and had been in contact with the aliens who had come to warn humanity. The Zolarans were not hostile, but they were serious. Their arrival signaled a shift in the galaxy's balance of power. They brought with them knowledge of the ancient, malevolent force that was coming for Earth. The Zolarans explained that they had been fighting this dark force for millennia. The force, known as the Korath, was a terrifying entity that consumed entire civilizations. It left nothing but destruction in its wake. The Zolarans had tried to warn other species, but many had ignored them, believing that they were simply trying to instill fear. Now, with the Korath drawing closer, they could no longer stand by and watch as Earth faced the same fate. The Zolarans told Earth's leaders that they had only one chance to survive. The Korath was not something that could be fought with weapons or military force. It was a force of nature, a consuming darkness that tore apart everything in its path. The only way to defeat the Korath was through unity, through cooperation with the other races in the galaxy. But even as the Zolarans spoke, not everyone on Earth was convinced. Some nations remained skeptical of the alien race's motives. They feared that the Zolarans might have their own agenda and that humanity would be drawn into a galactic war. There was no trust, no certainty. Earth was still divided, and time was running out. As the Zolarans continued their talks, another alien species arrived, the Ator, a fierce and battle-hardened race from a distant corner of the galaxy. Unlike the Zolarans, the Ator were not known for their wisdom or peaceful intentions. They were warriors, driven by the thrill of combat and the need to conquer. The Ator made it clear that they had no interest in diplomacy. They wanted to fight, to destroy the Korath before it could reach Earth. The arrival of the Ator created an even more complicated situation. While the Zolarans advocated for peaceful cooperation, the Ator believed that the only way to stop the Korath was through a brutal, all-out war. The galaxy was now divided between those who wanted to fight and those who wanted to unite. Earth, caught in the middle, had to choose its side. The decision was not an easy one. Earth's leaders realized that they were at a crossroads. If they chose the wrong path, it could lead to the destruction of their planet. The pressure was overwhelming. And as the galaxy continued to react, with more and more alien factions making their presence known, Earth's fate seemed to hang in the balance. It was clear now, the universe was a dangerous place, filled with allies and enemies, all driven by their own motives. Earth had been thrust into a larger cosmic struggle, one that would determine not only its survival but also the fate of the galaxy itself. As the world held its breath, the clock was ticking. The Korath was coming. And the question remained, would humanity stand united, or would the galaxy tear itself apart in a fight for control over Earth's future? The world was at a crossroads. The galaxy's factions had spoken, and the truth was undeniable, Earth was in grave danger. The Korath, the dark force that had destroyed civilizations across the stars, was coming, and humanity had no way of stopping it alone. The Zolarans had offered their knowledge and cooperation, while the Ator had demanded war. The universe was divided, and Earth, caught in the middle, had to make its choice. Days passed as world leaders debated. Some wanted to join the Zolarans, believing that unity and cooperation with other alien races was humanity's best chance for survival. Others leaned toward the Ator, feeling that only through strength and force could they protect their world from the coming darkness. Every decision seemed to carry weight, and the pressure was growing heavier with each passing moment. Time was running out. In the quiet of the night, a group of Earth's most influential scientists, military leaders, and diplomats gathered in a secure location. They had been working tirelessly to figure out what was the right choice. The world had grown restless, and every nation was watching. Humanity needed to act, and act soon. But no one could agree on what path to take. Dr. Emily Harris, the scientist who had decoded the alien's message, stood at the head of the room, facing the group. The weight of the situation was heavy on her shoulders. She had always believed in humanity's ability to solve problems on its own, but this was something entirely different. The galaxy was filled with dangers, and Earth had only just begun to understand the magnitude of the threats they were facing. She knew the choices were limited, and each one carried unimaginable risks. "I've been listening to both sides," Dr. Harris said, her voice steady but filled with concern. "The Zolarans offer knowledge, wisdom, and the hope of unity. But the Ator offer strength, the ability to fight back. We can't ignore either side. But we must also consider what we can bring to the table." The room fell silent as everyone took in her words. Humanity wasn't just facing an external threat. They were facing a battle for their very soul. Would they choose cooperation and the unknown, or would they choose battle and the certainty of war? "We are a young species," Dr. Harris continued, "and perhaps that is why we are so divided. We've only just begun to reach for the stars, and now we must decide whether we will build bridges with those we meet or raise walls and defend ourselves. But we can't do this alone. No matter which side we choose, we need each other. We need to trust." The room remained still. The weight of those words hung in the air. Earth's future wasn't just about surviving, it was about the kind of civilization they wanted to be. Would they choose peace and unity, even if it meant trusting those who were alien to them? Or would they choose war, fighting for survival at any cost, even if it meant sacrificing their humanity? Outside, the alien ship remained in place, its presence a constant reminder that the clock was ticking. The Korath was getting closer. The galaxy had been watching, but now, it was time for Earth to decide what role it would play in the universe. Would humanity rise to the occasion, or would they be consumed by fear and division? As the debate raged on, one thing became clear: Earth could not continue to stand alone. The aliens, whether the Zolarans, the Ator, or others who had yet to make their presence known, had all come to one conclusion: Earth had to choose. The galaxy was watching, but the fate of the planet rested in the hands of its people. Dr. Harris looked out the window. The sky was dark, but there, in the distance, the alien ship hovered, waiting. Waiting for humanity's decision. The people of Earth were no longer just observers of the universe. They were part of it. And now, they had to decide which path to take. At that moment, Earth's leaders made a choice. It wasn't just about the Korath. It wasn't just about fighting or making alliances. It was about how Earth would face the future. Would they fight alone, or would they step into the unknown, side by side with those who had watched them, who had come to offer help, and who knew the dangers that lay ahead? With the galaxy's eyes upon them, humanity made its decision. A new chapter had begun, and Earth's place in the universe would never be the same again.